Yeah,
All right,
I just keep
hello
it steady on
everybody.
the
Welcome
magic.
back to
Do
the
my thing, I'm
Uprooted
healing, it's
podcast.
fantastic.
Yeah, we're gonna just have
If I
some
fall,
good
rise
conversation
automatic.
about some good
You ain't
topics
on
with some
that, you
good people.
know. I'm the one raise myself like a tree from the roots. West side girl, cause she lit in the coast. East side girl when she speaks to the roots. Stay 100 cause she on with the truth. Been there on struggle, know that it pass. Only going up, yeah, the pain don't last. Ooh, take off. Ooh, take off. Ooh, take off. This is take off. Shorty like Brandy, fight like Monica. What you know about her? Baby girl rising, way to the top. Shaking the world, don't expect her to stop. Purpose so great, she get what she got. Follow her step, cause she following God. What you need more, got a heart full of gold. Even at times when it's raining and cold. Ooh, she bout take off. Ooh, she bout.
Yo, it's your girl Hannah, aka Roots How. Welcome back to the Uprooted podcast and your weekly installment of Black Women Wednesday. Today I'm gonna have Samrawit on with me. I call her Babu, y'all call her Samrawit. You know how it goes. You know the vibes. Um, yeah, I'm excited to have her on. We gonna talk about something that's near and dear to my heart. Again, this is my big sis. Like, she's role model for sure. So it's gonna be a special treat for y'all. Okay, sis, is she ready? Okay, she ready. Hold on. Hey, sis. How y'all doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Make sure you tagging your friends. Bring them in. Hey.
Hello.
This song is interesting.
Huh?
I said this song is interesting.
Oh, you heard it?
I don't know. Yeah, I was like, okay, I see what you're talking about.
I had just posted it. Also, it was like the first song that came to my mind.
It makes sense though. It makes sense. I like it.
Oh,
I like it. What's up, y'all? What's up?
Slim!
They
I can't believe Slim is
because
in here.
people be like confused, when you be doing stuff like this. They be like, what they do? What they up to? They don't never
I
be
know,
on
right?
live.
What is she doing on a live?
Well, if you're just joining, if you don't know, now you know. This is Uprooted Podcast. We do lives. I keep saying we as if there's like somebody behind me because I just feel like there's always somebody with me.
We are together.
Yes, we are here. Black on Wednesday. Babu, you are not new to the show, so
I know y'all
hopefully
know
they
me.
know. So hopefully they know you by now, and if they don't know, now you know. Because this is, again, I call her Babu, y'all call her what? Samrawit, Sam.
Yeah,
Like,
Sam is cool.
don't get confused. I know clearly I have a thing with names, and I realize everybody around me got like they name, they nickname, this is what I call them. And I'm like, y'all just gonna have to deal with it.
Family, you really know me. That's Babu.
Listen, I'm gonna just randomly add people to it, but y'all who don't know, this is my cousin from day one. Used to sleep in the same bed together growing up. Um,
Bathtubs.
everything. Taught me how to be a whole woman because I was out here struggling.
We both still struggling.
we still trying to figure it out, but we out here trying. But it is what it is. If you want to know about me, you got to know about her. So that's why I was like, duh, you're gonna be on Black Women Wednesday. We just got to figure out what we're talking about. Like,
Yeah,
that's
for
the
sure.
only thing. Because you have a very interesting life, and I have been lucky enough that I get to see it up close. But sometimes I'll be forgetting. I'm like, oh yeah, she do that too.
Damn, I guess, yeah, I guess you could say that. Some people do say that. I don't think I feel like my life is interesting until I talk to somebody else, but I feel like hella people have like stories that don't ever get told,
That's true. That's true.
So grateful for the platform, but also really to just kind of push the word on this defund movement, because I feel like there's so much misinformation and confusion and just people uncertain about where they fall on this or needed more information to be able to support it fully.
Yeah, and I feel like it's timely too. So if people who don't know, just to give them background, because we're gonna jump into it, is Bible came on we did an episode like last summer, and we were talking about like our Black identity in this world, and understanding what that looks like. And to be Black and conscious in the 21st century is to understand like over policing, like to understand, like if you understand the Black Lives Matter movement, you understand why. And like policing and like police sanctioned murder is a real thing. And so we have to talk about it because this affects our day-to-day life here. So Babu's coming on because she does amazing work around this. And I know y'all might hear defund the police, but have no idea what that's about.
Yeah, like what it entails. And I feel like there's so much like propaganda out there, just anti, defunding, and even throughout the whole process, because I mean, I guess just to give some background, because I'm not like, I don't want to get on here and be like, yes, I'm the expert on defunding the police, but just to speak to what my experience actually was. So for one, in my grad program, for my final paper, I wrote a paper on the prison industrial complex, right? And through that, you just learn about police and reform and how the prison system has been reformed over the years and how it evolved into what it is today, right? And then after that, it was kind of like, I mean, not that I wasn't before that, the interest wasn't there before that, obviously, but, it just kind of made me feel like I wanted to get more involved in what was going on in my city in particular. And then I remember seeing on Twitter, council member Nikki Boss, and she was talking about, just trying to get people to apply, submit like statements of interest to be a part of this advisory board to Oakland Reimagining Public Safety Task Force. And so I just submitted an application, spoke to my background, and really a lot of the questions were like, are you a person who grew up in Oakland? Are you a person who currently lives in Oakland? Have you been impacted by, violence in Oakland?
So you said check again. Check it 3 more times. Hold on. So, all of that.
Exactly. So yeah, and then also just like speaking about what your professional experience is. So like I work with, I'm a contract and grants manager for nonprofits, for a fiscal sponsorship agency. So through that,
you said a lot of big words. So because because I'll be like yeah. No. Hold on. I'll be having to tell myself and slow it down too. Basically, the people who are in charge of giving out free money to programs that are supposed to benefit people. That's what she does. She the person that just, oh, you want the check? Okay, but you got to give me all this if you want the check.
We need the reports. We need the stats. We need the information.
I'm signing off. I ain't signing off unless this is accurate. So just to bring it down to our level, because how sometimes we say these big words.
Yeah, my bad. I get lost.
No, you're good. Sometimes I forget I have a younger audience too, that like those of us who have already done this grad school thing, we be forgetting. So I just have to break it down. She said we need some funds for ticket. I said, listen, yes,
we're working on it.
Yeah, don't worry. This is part of the bigger plan.
Yeah. So yeah, through my job, I just got like a good understanding of how nonprofits work, what nonprofits are already out there, what pilot programs are out there for different cities and things like that. Like a pilot program is like a program that hasn't been tried yet. You know what I mean? And so with that information and then the statement of interest that I submitted to Oakland, they selected a bunch of people to be on the advisory board for this task force. So the task force was made up of like 17 people, I think. And then the advisory boards were like, it was like a lot of people. I think it was like 80 people, but we were all split up into different groups. Yep. And so my group was the root causes of violence group. So what we were doing was like coming up with recommendations. So we want to reallocate police funding, cut the budget by 50%, and then how we're going to distribute that money and how we're going to use that money to invest back into the
community. Yep. Yeah. So before you jump too far in it, so let me help some people who are new to the defund movement. So if you guys have paid attention in the last year to the Black Lives Matter movement, then you also would have noticed an adjacent movement of defund the police, right? There's also like abolitionists as a theory, right? So like it goes further. So for anyone
And I
who
want
is
to talk about the
still,
abolitionist piece too.
yeah, we're gonna jump in there because there's different ideologies that people need to understand that are at play. So when we say defund the police, let's talk about the budget, because usually the first question that you'll get from people who are like, that sounds wild. Why would you not want police? Like, police keep us safe.
Okay, let's
Yeah,
talk about it.
maybe maybe for you in the suburbs, but for a city like Oakland, if you're anywhere in the Bay, you understand that the police budget is like completely like inflated, like overflate, whatever the language is, it's way disproportionate
Yeah,
to
I mean,
what
they
they
make
should
up
be doing.
44%. They're making up 44% of the Oakland City budget. That's crazy, because that means that, 56% of that 56% of that is being allocated to every other department, and that's like, parks and
Yeah.
recs, there's education, that's housing, all of the things, that all the social programs that we need to like keep a healthy society, you know what I mean? So yeah, the budget part is crazy. And then when you look at the budget, you actually like deep dive into the budget, it's like even worse, because they're spending all of this time and money on, really just policing the most ridiculous things, like, peaceful protest policing, or like, evictions. We found that they're spending like a majority of their time on evictions, and the argument there is like, why are you spending money on having the cop, watch this family be evicted from their home, when you could just take that money and invest it into housing and keep the family in the home,
in the home. Yeah, it's completely reactionary. So like, policing in and of itself, and like, I'm gonna take it back historically for some people, right? Police like were invented to be what? Slave catchers. They've always been like, you can't convince me anything else, right? Like,
Well, I
that
mean,
whole
and I
institution
actually,
and
this is
system.
interesting too, because I did some research. I used to be a research assistant. I've done paid research on policing, actually, and the history of policing, and how police reform doesn't actually work. Because a lot of people will advocate for police reform, but policing. The first police department was actually in Boston, and it was meant to, control workers. People who were actually like, the low wage income, low earners, the working class people, from disrupting and disturbing, the wealthy people. Those people sometimes were not, they weren't, it's in Boston, you know what I mean? There probably wasn't too many Black folks up there at that time either. But
yeah.
But the way that it evolved is that, you know what I mean, who became the working class and who was the working class in moving forward, you know what I'm saying? So it definitely, and in the South, it was for sure a response, because there wasn't that many industry or factory workers in the South. It was,
the industry was cotton, and
exactly.
the workers were Black.
Exactly.
So like, by default, that's who you're policing.
Yeah.
And that's the only people you're policing. You're not worried about what Billy Bob over there doing. Like, you know what I mean? Because he's not who your target, and I say target, is, right? So essentially what you're gonna get is a system that is inherently biased, like inherently, right? Because it's not meant to prevent crime. Like, like, the police and the institution of policing was not meant to prevent the crime. It was to react when something happened, or to keep people in line, a specific group of people in line, and that's it. So when you think about that inherently, and then when you hear a number like 44% of the city's budget is going to policing, then you got to start asking questions about, well, what the fuck is 44, like, how much is going on? Yeah, like, what are y'all doing? I mean, even just from a budgeting standpoint, like,
it's
do we
fiscally
need
irresponsible, honestly, because if you think about it too, like, most of the cops OPD do not live in Oakland. You know, they live in the outskirts. They live in outskirts cities, Dublin, Livermore, way out of the way. You know what I mean? So, and those people like are making hundreds of thousands of dollars of our taxpayer dollars. Those are tax. So our money is literally being drained out of the city by these cops because they don't pay property taxes in Oakland. They don't pay any taxes in Oakland. They pay taxes in Dublin. They pay taxes in whatever other city that they live in. So, like, when you think about that, every year, 44% of our tax dollars, you know, are being pretty much drained. And when you say we're in a budget deficit, like year over year, we're in a budget deficit, because the money's leaving the city. It's not being recycled.
We're not bringing in. It just economically doesn't make sense.
Right. And also think about like the crime rate not going down, right? So we have a fully funded budget,
budget,
and the crime rate is still out of control. So if you have, you know, if you hire a mechanic to do a job and they don't, you know what I mean, like
they don't do their job,
continue to pay them. No, you're not going to want to continue to pay them. You're not going to go back to them. You're not going to have them do these jobs. So there's a lot of layers.
Yeah, but we say all that to say, and we spend time, you know, let's poke holes for people who are like questioning why they, if you're trying to understand this topic, let's poke some holes. And so at least you are coming at it from a complete perspective and not just the perspective that you've been sold. All right. Because like the narration for policing always comes from top down and not from the people who are actually being policed. Like that shit's ridiculous. Like, bro, you do not make me feel, y'all don't really make me feel safe.
Another thing is, like, you know, when you talk about, like, police don't even show up to stuff. You know what I'm saying?
They don't.
And, like, there's so many calls that come into the police that don't go answered. And it's like, what are they? But if the police are called in Piedmont, you know what I mean? I'm sure they'll show right up. You know, anywhere, any suburban area, the police will show right up. You know, so. And it's crazy because there were a lot of people who were, you know, sabotaging the movement to try to defund the police, even from within what we were tasked to do, which was defund the police. You know, and and this is one thing that I wanted to talk about too, because there was a lot of people who said, well, what about all this violent crime that's going on in East Oakland, like in Deep East Oakland or in West Oakland, and who's gonna, like, you know, check these youngsters that's in the streets, like shooting up like this gang violence stuff, you know what I mean? And it's like, okay, we're not trying to, and this is the distinction that I will make just personally for myself and for the task force to defund the police. We are not trying to remove police from situations where police should be in. You know what I mean? I feel like you can't actually abolish the police until you ban guns. You know what I mean? There's no way that, you know, if somebody else got a gun, like the police are going to have to be involved to a certain extent. But if you minimize, because you got to think about what the police are reacting to now. Like, I think I heard somewhere or read somewhere that since the 70s, like, the police have started to respond to things that they never actually used to respond to, like mental health crises or like evictions or somebody needed to tow a car out of their driveway, like, you know, or, you know, like things that police don't necessarily need to be doing because it's not in their range, it's not in their scope of things to be doing. They don't have any mental health training. These are like dudes who are fresh out of high school and didn't want to go to college. You know what I'm saying? Not to
stereotype, but honestly,
not to belittle that, but it's like, you know, they're not trained professionals in dealing with, you know, a mental health crisis. They're not trained. They're not
trained for a lot of things. So like I know
criminals.
The people who are, right? So like the people who go to school and get degrees, right? They climb the ranks faster. But the actual positioning, right? Like the actual training that a police officer gets is very minimal. Like when you compare it to some of the standards we have for other first responders, like I feel like firefighters go through way more training. Like, you know what I'm saying?
They definitely do. But yeah, it's just like, why? And it's because we're paying so much money to them that we can't afford those services outside of them. You know what I mean? Like, you guys are the people that we're giving all our money to, so we expect, you know, them to respond to everything. So, and even like there were some cops who were on that, you know, not on the task force, but like a part of the discussion around
Mm-hmm.
defunding, and they were saying like, yeah, we are not trained to respond to these things. You know what I mean? So it doesn't really make sense that we're giving them the money to do that.
Yeah, because there's also, so I know LA, I think, is piloting a program too, where social workers are like the ones that are supposed to now respond to mental health crises, right? So if they get a call
Yes.
in, it's supposed to be social work. Because I don't know about y'all, I studied psych and I don't feel comfortable approaching like a mental health crisis. Me, myself, having studied it, right? And I know, you know why? Because I'm scared, because like, because you don't know what you're walking into. It is a really tough job trying to talk somebody down,
Yeah,
like when they're going through a mental health crisis. And if you don't know what signs to look for in terms of like de-escalating that situation, you're always going to make it worse.
exactly.
Like, you're
And they
always
don't
going to make it worse.
de-escalate, over and over again. We see like they're not de-escalating any situation. You know what I'm saying? Like,
No.
if a cop gets involved, it's almost like they amp stuff up because they're so amped up. They're so hyped up and they're so paranoid and they're so ready for, because they see us as criminals. At the end of the day, like when they see black folks and they see people in the streets, they're not recognizing the humanity anyways.
Yeah, I mean, they see it clearly when it's a white serial shooter. Somehow, some way, they they they're not scared. But again, that's fine, right? Like, we are dealing with reality. That system will have to get broken down too, right? But part of that is we have to defund some of this shit so we can get our people back healthy, right? Like, we do need money for social welfare programs that are actually preventative in nature, right?
Right.
Because some of the crimes, some of the quote unquote petty crimes that happen are because niggas are bored, like dead ass. Like, you have like a bunch of kids in a city. We were those kids in a city with nothing to do, right? Like, our parents are working and we have nothing to do. There's no supervision, so we're just gonna get into dumb shit. That's what like young kids are gonna do. That's what the young kids in the suburbs do. But guess what? The cops don't get called on them. Like,
Right.
and they're also not there policing them. Like, they're doing dumb shit as teenagers that we're getting killed for. And so for us, it's like, no, we need to defund y'all because you were policing the wrong things. And then maybe if we have that money and we're actually putting it into after school programs and we're putting it into
There
social
won't be
welfare,
the need for as many police. That's the argument too. It's like, if we're fully funding these social programs, we're fully funding, youth programs, educational programs, job training, housing, because what we see is like a lot of the crimes are crimes of resource. They're robbing because they don't have something, you know what I mean? Or they're selling drugs because they don't have money, and so it's just like, yeah, how do you want to deal with the people in our community? Do you want to just lock them up and throw away and say their life has no value? Or do you want to try to invest in the community and say, okay, if this person has this skill, whatever skill it might be, you know what I mean? We're trying to develop that person's ability so that they don't have to resort to crime. So some of the recommendations were like free access to education for local residents. Like, you should be able to go to junior college. If you're from Oakland, you graduated from an Oakland high school, you should be able to go to a junior college here, get a training, get whatever, you know what I mean, educational wise. That would make this whole thing like, it would just minimize the amount of people who are resorting to violence and crime.
Listen, some of the things too that kill me, like the things that they get tied up for, had they had a business license, would have been legal. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's little things that trip people up because they don't have the knowledge, right? And then, especially for me, like, I have a brother, you have a brother, right? Like, we know firsthand how like school doesn't work for them because this school system was like literally like fuck black boys, like, you know what I mean, like literally. And so here are these brilliant men that we know. Like, these niggas just like swallow books. They're always reading. They're always like, they're like, yeah, you gotta do this, this, and this. But when it comes to like wanting to do things the official way, the paperwork way, like that systematic way that America has it set up, they don't know how to like operate in that system, especially out here. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's so irritating.
This is in the live dropping knowledge.
Yes.
The 13th Amendment says that slavery is legal if you've committed a crime. Defunding defunding the police limits the big business of prisons and free labor. Factual. That is factual. You know, they're essentially feeding people into the prison industrial complex. That is their task. That's their job.
That's literally their job. Oh, isn't that also part of the movement was shutting down for-profit prisons? So
yes.
I know they did a bunch in California, but and I know that legislation and practice is starting to get mimicked in other states in a grassroots way. But that brings me back to your original point of why I wanted you to come on. So when you're talking about the advisory board, Oakland is it is a progressive ass beta testing ass place. Okay, like.
Yeah.
I was just talking to Mahalit too. Like, I've been saying this, like, Oakland, the Bay Area, SF, like, beta test the most progressive shit all the time because we deal with.
I remember I said somebody said it's a hotbed for activism.
It is. It literally is that. So it's like when you think about that, and you think about this movement and trying to pilot this, what Bob was able to do, right, is so. I really want to make this clear to the audience. When you have movements, you have the protests, right? You garner all this attention, you do this, and the third, and then what does the government do? They're going to meet you at a table, and they're going to say, fine, what do you want us to do to solve this problem? So you have to come with actual solutions. And they're always going to make you do the work. You think they're going to do the work? They're not going to do the work. Free. They don't actually care about your justice, right? Like, they just want people to stop protesting and like leave them alone. Like, they don't actually care. So when this happens and then they put up a call to action or a community call in, they're gonna make it, you know, quote unquote public, but it's not like these are things we pay attention to. So if you're still, you know, starting and joining in this part of the conversation, what Bobby was explained earlier, or Sam, I can't remember to call you that. Yeah. It's this idea that, like, when we ask for things, the city is going to give it to us in like the most least invasive and laborious way they can. So they'll put together a meeting and they'll throw it on the books, but they won't advertise it, and they won't actually go out of their way to go look for who are the leaders in the community and bring these people on board. They're going to go the easiest route, like who are the grassroots organizers that are around, or like who, like, you know, well, we put the ask out and this is who signed up. So then you'll get an advisory board full of people who don't actually want to change anything. So it's really important when you get that.
It wasn't the people on the advisory board that showed up that they selected, because everybody was hand selected. Those people, with the exception of like one guy who ended up getting like shamed and kicked out of for going against everybody. But everybody else was like super dedicated to the work, and that was the thing that was super frustrating, right? Because there was an advisory board and then there was the task force, right? And the task force,
I'm confusing the two. Yeah, okay, clarify that for them.
Was like a bunch of people that they kind of threw. I mean, I don't know how exactly they were community organizers, but it felt like, you know, I think, and this is something that I had an issue with, right? And I had to end it. You know, I don't like making public comments, but I ended up getting on there like, who y'all talking to? But they were saying, like, you know, this movement to defund is you know, coming from liberals, and it's coming from people who don't really know the hood and people who ain't really from Oakland. And I was like, what? No, that's not true at all. That's actually everybody that was in my group, in my research group, they were Black women from Oakland. You know what I'm saying? So I grew up here, loved the city.
Heavy emphasis on the women, okay?
Yeah,
heavy emphasis.
That's true too. My whole group was full of women. It was just women, but that makes sense. We were addressing the root causes. I think like the legal policy, there was like a few dudes and stuff in that one, but it was just like, you know, all of these people were super dedicated to the work, and everything, every policy and every recommendation that they, you know, that we all had came up with was very much like rooted in having compassion for people, you know what I mean, and caring about the community, and like investing in the people in the community, and not just saying like, oh, this is a bad seed, let's call the cops on him, you know what I mean, let's not feed these kids, like talking about like getting cops out of schools and stuff, because that's a major way
that's so unnecessary. Like,
for what?
They be escalating the shit out of like, bro, the amount of fights, because you know when I moved to San Jose,
my class and my population got different. You know what I'm saying? The diversity got a little different. And when I tell you, there was just as many fights, but fewer arrests. And we had a sheriff, but that nigga was like, he ain't even trying to be there. Like, they don't want to be there babysitting no 18-year-olds. So it's like, you just have to think, like, what if you put a police officer there and their whole job is to like put people away for crimes? These are children. Like, they don't know better. They're supposed to be taught. This is supposed to be a safe environment for you to be taught in, not to feel like you're being surveyed. Like, you know, like, it's weird. I don't want to feel like I'm under surveillance all the time. Like, that's just irritating. I feel like that's why a lot of us are hella paranoid, because you're always waiting for somebody to like catch you.
I mean, I got insurance, my taxes up to date, all that stuff, everything. But even a cop even gets behind me, and I'm like super nervous. You know what I mean? For whatever reason, I haven't even had like bad interactions with police for the most part. I'm a veteran. I'll show my USAA insurance, and they're like, I've actually gotten out of a speeding ticket. You know what I mean? But it just, I still feel that sense of like, oh my God, you know what I mean? Like, what could happen? I don't know if this cop is gonna be tripping or trigger happy or just mistake, or like, you know, make a mistake. So
yeah, we
shouldn't have to feel like that for a traffic stop. You know, that's another thing. Like everything was just to like minimize public interaction with the police. We want to minimize, you know, how frequently we come into contact with a cop. We don't need a cop to give us a ticket, right? You know, take the tag down or send us the ticket. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And also just like take the uniform off sometimes and like be a normal human being, bro. Like, actually go through the city and see what it would be like for you to be a citizen here, because you're policing a community that you have like you're not invested in at all, and it shows in your work. You know what I mean? Like, it shows for sure.
When they come into work, and it's like, no, please,
like, relax. You know what I mean? And that's the thing that irritates me. So I'm completely for it, and I wanted people to know that there's ways for you to get involved locally, you know what I'm saying, in your communities, and actually make this change. So as people of color in this country, like, this is something, like, y'all want to post Black Lives Matter, y'all want to post you know, rest in peace, say her name, whatever, like all of those things. But then work has to happen after for us to actually like get the change that we need to see. So like something like this, getting involved in your community in like a grassroots way, or getting involved in the community side of it and in the local politics of it, you will affect change immediately in your city. You know what I mean? Versus like like just having an ideology and having a debate and a conversation about it. All right, let's put that to practice. Let's put like some effort behind this so that we can make our community safer and better, because, you know, at the end of the day, you still live here.
Right. Yeah, I kind of just felt like, you know, if I'm gonna have this ideology, if I see an opportunity to get involved, then I might as well. You know what I mean? Like, why not? It's not like I mean, it was a lot of research. So I would say that, like, a lot of people don't have the time to do, you know, civic duty type thing, like civic engagement, and it was a lot of bullshit for sure. I wasn't sure if I was cussing on this or not, but I mean,
I don't care.
But it was a lot of bullshit in the whole process as well, because there was just so many people just like, you know, making it about their individual story, their own, you know, and then a lot of people just kind of clout chasing and trying to create a platform for themselves. So there was a lot. It was a lot to do it, but you know, the final vote, we came up with like 87 recommendations, I think, and the final vote is supposed to be on May 3rd on whether they're going to push through. I think most of the recommendations was approved, but we don't know how they're going to be implemented beyond that. So we're just kind of like waiting after we've submitted all these recommendations and stuff to them.
Mm-hmm. And I think part of that too, what I've learned with anything is like, especially with media, it's the public attention and pressure, right? So like, if people know that the work has been done, like resolutions have been given, now it's like, okay, I'm just watching and waiting for you to act.
Right. What's up? We put
the ball, you
back in your court.
it's back over to your side. So what you gonna do? And
Yeah.
it's like, it's up to us too. Like, the civic engagement doesn't stop right there. Like, that's the first step. So when I keep, I really fuck with Nipsey for really branding this idea of a marathon, because it really is. Like, that's actually how you handle systemic change. Like, you know what I mean? It's not just an overnight. The frustration is the first part, like the frustration and getting people involved and active and to care enough. And then it's like, I want people to take away this thought, like, you got to be mad intentional about doing this work, because you're not trying to create more harm.
Yeah,
And like,
definitely.
you can't do that. So like, understand when she's saying I'm on the research team to figure out the root cause. If you don't know what the root cause is, you might accidentally recreate the problem.
Yeah, and a lot of policies, there's a lot of examples of policies that have done that. Like, they have negative impact, even though they were like meant to do well. So yeah, to me, I mean, I feel like money, education, jobs, housing, like, and money and jobs are not one and the same. There are people who work and are still broke, right? So that's not the same thing. You know what I mean? But like, having like good paying jobs, and when we remove these tasks from the police, we give those jobs to the civilians, the people who actually live in these neighborhoods, to like deal with certain issues within our neighborhoods, and we pay them the same amount that we would have paid these cops, because we're not gonna devalue the job now just because it's not a cop that's doing it, because we know that a cop doesn't actually require that much training. So we're not gonna devalue the position. You know what I'm saying? So
thank you. That part, like, it's, think about it. Like, I meet people every day who do amazing work for the community for free, right? Because they're sitting here like, how do you monetize this type of care? You know what I'm saying? And it's like, me myself, I'd be struggling with the idea of having to monetize this and like make this my work, because I feel like I'm doing more impactful shit here than it would be for me to go sit behind a desk in somebody's corporate office pushing papers. You know what I mean? I could do that. That's a paycheck. But then I'd have to, still spend like all my free time doing this work, because this is what I'd rather do. Why not? We're paying taxes to live in a better community, right? Like, that's the whole idea, the whole concept they be selling us on, like, why we pay taxes and why we have, government and federal like situations, is so that we can better our communities. So if I'd rather get the paycheck from the government, right, and do the community work. Like, I have no shame in that.
We should have a say so in where our tax dollars are going. You know what I'm saying? Like, it really just comes down to that. And I feel like there's so many people in Oakland, like, we're paying money, and then so many people have spoken out. There's so many people that voted. There's so many people that called in and wrote, and petitions that have gone through that said the city does not want to spend all our tax dollars on the police. So why are we still doing that? You know what I mean? Like, are we going to do the people's will, or are we going to just do whatever the government, you know what I'm saying? Like, is the mayor just going to do whatever?
I was about to say, who your mayor is.
Don't.
Y'all just do us a favor and just Google Oakland mayor, okay? Just Google Oakland mayor, because the way that, like, for me, the next wave, and I don't know that it's me, I'm not saying that it's me, because I talk a lot of shit, is seeing more people get into city council and get into actual positions. Like,
yeah. I mean, I think as we get older, I feel like that always used to kind of seem like an old person's kind of job,
I know, but we realizing.
Yeah, you don't have to be hella old to get into that position. We don't actually need old people in those positions. We need younger people. We really don't.
We need them old people out. I'm sorry. The way that these people are so outdated in terms of, like, actually how the world works now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, social media is the most powerful tool in the world. Like, and you're literally, like, inept at it. Like, but you're running the city. So you're still working inefficiently, which is why I feel like you don't know how to manage a budget properly, because you're paying people to do jobs that are unnecessary.
Oh man, don't even. I mean, and then they're going over budget, so their budget's already super inflated, and they're going over budget year over year. You know what I'm saying? And their overtime is like double what they make in salary. It's crazy. Like, there's actually cops that will be compensated, not necessarily paid. They're probably getting paid like $250,000, and then be compensated, including their benefits and everything, like over $500,000. Like, that's, to be a cop, $500,000? No way. Like, that, no.
It's
That's
crazy because the people you policing only making like $50K a year,
yeah, man.
maybe, like minimum wage and everything. You know what I'm saying? Like,
And for the most part, they be sitting on their ass. I mean, they said like 4%. There was so much data that came out in that process too. So they said like something like 4% of the 911 calls that actually came in were like violent crime, like a call for a violent crime emergency call. I'm like, what? That's crazy. They literally said that they spend the majority of their time doing the overtime stuff for the police, like protest watching, and then like evictions, watching over evictions.
Bro. And the only reason the protests get violent, which is not always the case, first and foremost, is because y'all niggas come with your gas and start shooting niggas. Like, it's not. I've been to plenty, right? So, like, here's a perfect example. We've been protesting like crazy for the Tigray genocide, right? Like, we have been actively protesting it all across the world. When I tell you the day I knew, like, the whole immigrant African thing, privilege and like that separation is so, like, because you know how we say it all the time. We said it on the episode. There's like this weird, like, kind of barrier between African immigrants and like African Americans that grew up here, right? Or were here, whatever. Y'all know what I'm
Black
talking
Americans.
about. Thank you. Yes. So this shit's crazy, Babu. On the same day we're doing a Tigray genocide protest, like protesting against it, right? They were doing a Justice for Elijah McClain protest as well, like Black Lives Matter in Denver. Okay. When I tell you, at our protest, the police were clearing the streets and we're just kind of chilling and, you know, peaceful as hell, like nothing extra. We're literally just blocking streets for us. But then when we pulled up that day, when I tell you they came out with SWAT gear and riot gear, and I'm sitting here still, Black people, right? Two different responses. Because like they didn't think our international, right, problem was as like scary to them as like the idea of Black Lives Matter protesting.
Wow,
Do you see what I'm saying?
crazy. Yeah, that is actually really crazy.
It was so nuts to me. I was like, what? We're still protesting. They're the same people as us. And they're still, but you guys came ready for a fight. But also, like, Trump supporters came out. It's crazy. Trump supporters will see us protesting. They're like, yeah, we love Ethiopia. Like, even they have this like weird disassociation between like, oh, Africans aren't really a problem. Like, it's mind-boggling to me.
Yeah,
like
I'm gonna be a problem. I'm gonna go ahead and make myself a problem if that's the case.
It's crazy. I'm just sitting here like, y'all are wild. But we're the same people that you saw protesting at a Black Lives Matter one. But like, you know what I'm saying? They just can't even, there's like a weird separation, like, that you can't even pretend isn't there, you know? Oh, sis said they think immigrants are docile. Shaking my head. Listen, they really do. They really do. And that's, I guess, like, I don't know. I was literally shook. I was like, what? Because I'm looking at the SWAT gear. I even felt a different energy. And I was like, wow, y'all are so crazy, because I did not sense
racist.
this.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
inherently anti-Black. You know what I'm saying?
Anti-Black. It's insane. But because, like, they didn't feel like our movement had anything to do with Black Lives Matter, like, you know what I'm saying? And like that concept of like attacking and criticizing police here, it didn't bother them. I'm just like, we're still fighting state-sanctioned violence. Technically, it's technically parallel, but
we're not. Yeah, I mean, I don't even. Oh, I have no words for that.
This
so
is
trash.
It's so ridiculous. I mean, so like, we're
everyone should be able to protest. It's not trash that they didn't do that at. It's trash that they do that at any protest. You know
at any protest.
Do we have the right to peacefully assemble or not? You know what I'm saying? Like, damn.
That's my point. And so for me, it's like it's seeing kind of those stark differences in how they are. Also, like, you know what I mean, thinking about the population of Colorado, we're not a big number there.
Right.
I don't like those crowds. Even when they were doing Black Lives Matter protests in the summer, those crowds easily like always get overcome and like overwhelmingly white, because that's the population there.
Yeah.
And so it's mind-boggling to me that is the immediate reaction that you see in this country when and any time that Black people gather. So I'm just for my sake and for us as you know, African diaspora, even if you're not African diaspora and you watch this, it's like, get involved in the local stuff and start making these grassroots changes, because like Oakland's gonna pilot this and the rest of the world is gonna watch. And then you're gonna see other governments and other cities start to organize this. But if you live in a place that's already kind of doing this work, get involved and see how you can help push it forward, because our like safety is in danger everywhere, not just like, I don't know. For me, it
There's
it lit a
examples,
fire
there's
in the
pilot
ass.
programs, there's so many programs that have, and this was like a part of the research, right? There's so many programs that are already out there that have been shown to actually reduce crime, like an increase in education, increase in funds, you know, like a universal basic income. Those things have been shown already to reduce crime. The research is already out there. The numbers are out there. The facts are out there. Like, you know, so the work's already really been done. You just have to bring it together and really advocate and push for it and see, you know, if it'll fit into whatever the situation is in your city, you know.
And I want people to realize, like, I don't know, it just goes back to that title, like, you're Black on both sides. If you're not doing the international activism like we are, there's still plenty of local activism that need to be done, and that we can't separate ourselves from. We can't continue to separate ourselves, because this stuff affects our daily lives, you know?
Yeah, you know, I really loved when you said, what were you, I think it was the last, I don't know which Black Women Wednesday you did, but it was like another one that you did where you were saying the people who are pushing and advocating for this Tigray genocide and like trying to fight, you know, to support and fight, you know, support the fight against it. Like, what other thing have you guys been so passionate about? What other thing have you, you know, taken up the mantle on and tried to like be a part of? And it's there, you know what I'm saying? It's there for you to get active. If you have that itch to like be active in your local communities, like there's so many issues, anti-Blackness, and I think the Tigray genocide, you know, it's just like when you know that there's a certain group that's being persecuted just off of who they are, you know, and you know that you have a say-so, or you have the ability to have some type of say-so, I think you should, and you have that voice, the urge to do that, like, it's in your local community for sure.
Yeah, it just made me also realize, like, how inactive I really was. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was definitely an eye-opener for me, because the amount of people that I was not paying attention to in terms of connections, and like, I'm like, yeah, like, you know, I know Habesha people in these spaces, but when you're trying to get like civically engaged, like get local, like your actual representatives to do something on your behalf, they don't care when you're not a voting majority for them. Yeah. Like, so those of you who are doing this right now, like doing this work or trying to get into this work, like part of it is understanding what collective power is, and like how you get that collective power is like locally organizing first. Like, if you can't even get a local group together, you're not influencing national policy, you're not influencing international policy. Like, you're not gonna be able to do that unless you start learning how to like be a community organizer.
Close my way down the house.
I was like, I don't know what that was, but no, you're good. I don't know what this comment was. I think it cut off, but I'm gonna let you have that, sis. So I hope you guys are like, getting a clearer understanding. I don't know what this lighting is today, honestly. But usually how I like to end, because I try to keep this in an hour to be mindful of people's time and shit, you know what I mean? Like, my last question, and you probably already answered this because you've been on before, but I'm just gonna ask anyways, is what not that you're nervous, what do you want your legacy to be? Like, what do you want people to remember about you when you're not here with us anymore? I mean, with us, nigga, we going out together, but the rest of the world.
So I think I would want my legacy just to be that, I spread love and light, and educated people, you know what I mean, and spread as much information. Like, never tried to hoard information. I never tried to, not share what I know to be true, So I think that would be, and just like loving up on people. I love everybody. I want everybody to be happy, and I want everybody to live in peaceful bliss.
Man. Well, now I got the crazy people in the background. This what happens when you live in the city? No, I don't know what that is. Somebody on a motorcycle. I swear these people, they just be really wanting you.
Let's see.
Senator, yes.
While unveiling the Republican police reform bill on Wednesday, Senator Tim Scott said that the U.S. is not a racist country and criticized Democrats for what he saw as a relentless focus on race, advocating a discrete approach to policy solutions designed to address police brutality. Speak on it. Senator Tim Scott just said that America is not a racist country. A black man just said this. Wow.
Well, let me not go on that. You already know how I feel. Listen, you either with us or you gonna get your healing and your progress anyways, because the way we are not waiting for coons to catch up.
Yeah. And I hope that, some of these talking points equips the people out there who believe in defunding the police and don't necessarily, have the facts to spit out to people who are questioning it and things like that. Just give them a little bit of background and feel free to explore and get deeper into it.
Yeah. Ruth said, I love this live. Always good to see you too. This is another reminder that our activism, liberation here and abroad is so interconnected.
Yes, our liberation is definitely connected. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So
I love all the people that watch this.
I know they're so supportive. I'm telling y'all, this uprooted community, y'all are with it. I love it. Oh, Faven, we got hand claps for Faven. Okay, let me find out. Got the little Kesman here too.
Going on out here?
Somebody up with the fireworks. Actually, we were at the lake the other day, and some guys pulled up on us and was like, "You want to buy some fireworks?" And I'm like, the way that we're not even in July yet, and y'all niggas is always ready.
Yeah, they're going crazy right now. I don't know what's going on.
They
go out there and see what's up.
Cinco de Mayo next week, but this kind of early for them.
No, it's not early for Oakland. Oakland is they're gonna have fireworks 2 weeks before and then
and after.
Yeah, exactly.
These niggas, any excuse.
But
any
July
excuse.
4th, I was tortured for weeks after the 4th of July.
I know. I'm still debating if I want to be here or not. I'm still debating. Because honestly,
what is happening?
Listen,
that's
this is just our life. Yeah, bro. Listen, it's always a vibe out here. Listen, always something happening. But I'm not gonna skip over your legacy question, because I did let us get distracted. So this is always my favorite part. Thank y'all so much. I'm glad y'all enjoyed this conversation, and I'm hoping that some of y'all were inspired. Babu, I hope you know this by this point, you live that legacy every day.
Aww.
Like you speak your truth every day. I've never met someone so quick to be like, nah, that don't make sense. What
what are you talking about?
No, that's not actually how that works. That one's my favorite. And I just have to say that I think Madi asked the question last week. Part of the reason why the other part of why I never learned to hold my tongue is because you never did. You probably didn't get in as much trouble. Because I got a little spicy, okay? Because like you at least knew the boundary. I just pushed it. I went too far. But I love and appreciate you always. You do, like, look, I already said you already planted one seed. I'm here out in the universe working, and you did that with not even being that much older. So imagine, like, for everyone that's actually gonna get to grow up, you know, you have siblings that are far more balanced than we ever were.
For sure. Oh my God, they amaze me. They're so amazing.
Literally, they're so healthy because they've had like actual role models, right? That like love them and like help them avoid all those pitfalls. And if we're doing that for y'all, you know, I hope you guys understand the blessing that it is. So I just appreciate you. And they really, with the fireworks today, listen.
Somebody,
he in here too.
He's so funny. Up on me, my guy. Okay.
Oh, Roby said y'all always killing it.
Yes. Thank you, Ruta,
the whole
for the platform, for the opportunity to share. You know what I mean? I just love you so much. I love talking to you. This is so awesome, and I'm just super happy to support it.
Listen, we only got up to go from here. That's it.
It's up. It's up. It's up.
Hey, I gotta learn that for you. Okay.
Wait, give me an outro.
I don't know. I don't even have it. I don't know. I don't got nothing cute. Maybe I should start doing some outros. Yeah, I'll play your song back.
If it's up.
They probably fed up. I don't know what this song is, but here go your outro. It's from the album that you were listening to.
Oh, yeah.
So,
check them out. They're dope.
They look like it. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night, y'all.